Hi everyone, Old Emo Dave here, and welcome back to my channel for the first installment of Paper Modern Live. John, welcome on board. Paper Modern, we're here. It's gonna be regular, and we've got Amulet Titan kicking off against an Asmo Roots deck.
Well,
talk us through the matchups.
I'm not fully familiar with Asmo Roots, I must be honest. It's a fairly new deck with the coming of Insidious Roots in Murders of Markov Manor. But it does use, I forget the name. Longest name on a card. Asmo.
We just go with Asmo.
All right.
We just go with
Asmo has a lot of great synergies with the bush in order to sort of feed the graveyard, pull creatures out, and just create sort of an insurmountable amount of tokens for your opponent to deal with. And Amulet Titan is a very strong archetype in the modern format. Not seen as often nowadays, but it's one of those decks where...
Nope, but very powerful.
It's one of those like, sort of gatekeeper decks, I guess, where it kind of... If you don't have it, then... Oh dear, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's setting up quite nicely here. We are just a few turns and fetches. I can talk to the Asmo Roots deck mainly because this has been popularized by a lot of streamers, such as Aspiring Spike, who played these decks where essentially with Asmo and Cookbook you feed your graveyard. Now this is actually the interaction that's really, really fun. Is with Underworld Cookbook, if you discard an Oval Chase Daredevil, you discard the Oval Chase as part of the cost. And because you then make a food, the Oval Chase comes back. So you essentially have not unlimited, but like a lot of food getting created. And then Asmo has sack 2 food, deals 6 damage to any creature. So a lot of the creatures in the meta game, Asmo can then deal with as long as it's on the battlefield. So it's got a lot of sort of different ways to play the deck. You can play it aggressively, you can play a little bit combo-y, but essentially once you get like all the cookbooks out, you continue making food, you continue gaining life. And then the important bit about Insidious Roots is all of these activators, they actually then create the plant tokens because they're actually coming back out of your graveyard. And whilst I'm talking, there seems to be an incredible progression towards the strategy by Titan by the Titan player. They've just cracked Saga for part 3, which is going to get them the Amulet. I see a bounce land. May we see a turn 3 win?
So the way it's currently set up, so Amulet with the mana available to Kai right now. Oh, the W Amulet. Okay. So currently 5 mana is gonna be generated.
And we appreciate the dice. That is
the amount of amulets kind of just proliferate the amount of times. And he pays 3, which now gives him the 6 mana that Kai needs to play, I guess, a Boreal Grazer.
It's been another land because the Boreal Grazer.
Summoner's Pact into Primeval Titan. And the best part about this situation is Primeval Titan comes in. There is enough mana left over now, so a couple of lands that he could search for, but one that typically gets searched in this position is, I forget the name of it, but it gives him haste.
Well, you're probably going to get another Civic Growth Chamber, right? To be able to sort of like activate tap. And he's copy. Oh, yeah. So what he's copying the Primeval Titan with that
in order to generate more, in order to get more lands, in order to pay for the Summoning Pact. Which, if at any point Dave was able to deal with the Titan, so it was a bit unfortunate. If Dave had that second food, sorry, not Dave, sorry, Jay. If Jay had that second food, he would have been able to deal with the Titan, prevented that copy on the trigger, and then Kai would have lost purely on the fact that he probably could not actually pay for Pact in that position. And we just see Titan running in and getting all the lands, and because of that 3 mana creature on the board, all lands are all land types. Valka triggers for every mountain that comes in. 2 Valakits. You get what I mean. And Jay basically summed up what I was going to say there. It's just a lot of damage.
Yeah, gotta handily admit that's exactly the kind of thing I would have run into. So to think it was me, I'm not surprised. But yeah, Jr. Asmo player there, just you don't do nothing, right? I think modern is one of those formats where you sometimes just take your medicine.
Hmm.
Sometimes you just have to get domed on turn 3.
Yeah.
Importantly, this is a Jund deck by mana base, so
Hmm.
there's a few things that can come in from the sideboard which can actually help deal with this. Um, Pick your poison, definitely
Yeah.
a card that I would be highlighting here. Destroying target artifact, just get that get anything that can find or search up your amulet off the field. Like as soon as you see it, it's like it's kill on sight, right? Like completely.
Yeah.
And also because of the fact that you generate essentially treasures, or well, I say treasures. You generate the plants which generate you the ability to create any mana. You could be okay with like bringing in like blood moons or magnets of the moon from this sideboard to be able to also shut down this as well, and dampening sphere, another one local meta dependent. I would like to think that they've potentially thought about it, but we'll see we'll see how it runs out.
I mean, it's important to note that Jay doesn't normally play modern. This is
Yeah,
probably the first time he's played
so
modern.
so new to modern. In fact, I think Jay has even been quoted as saying, "I really hate modern." But you know, he doesn't really. He just is a really big fan of Pioneer. You hear him on the channel, and let's just hope he doesn't make some kind of catastrophic mistake, which really embarrasses himself because we'll have him on
Oh,
commentary soon.
but you know, Jay is known for making catastrophic mistakes on camera.
Well, yes, and well, we see here's a turn 1. We get a bubble. We're gonna crack it. He's taking a look at the opponents. Gonna make a draw for turn. Oh, triggers in time. We're nice to see it, Jay. Nice to see it.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
and an expedition map turn 1.
So we did see this last game. So effectively, the Amulet Titan player. So the one thing about Amulet Titan is it is quite draw dependent, and it wouldn't be actually abnormal to see Titan players mulliganing once, twice, just in order to get kind of that early or even just a bomb in hand. Because a lot of times, what fails Titan players is they can have all the lands in the world. A lot of them play more than half the deck full of lands, and they just don't hit the combo. And that just means that they're just durdling around till they actually hit something. And by that point, in modern especially, you give your opponent 1 or 2 turns to be able to do something, and suddenly they're running over the game.
what? Why get a basic there? John, do you think? Do you think this is sort of like you're not playing around Blood Moon? So like I'm not too sure on the thinking about just the green basic.
I think what Jay might be thinking is that maybe the basic's a good search because he doesn't need the shock. Now it depends entirely what's in his hand. I don't know what Jay has in his hand. This could be Insidious Roots. This could be what's being implied
Yeah,
in this
potentially.
position.
It looks
And
like it because he's no shot. He's no shot for a blood. Or he can't shot for a blood crypt because that was a windswept heath.
Jay,
Jay.
Jay. Oh
I
my goodness. Kai just kind of let it go.
I think he let it go. I don't know if it's on the basis that he technically could have gone that way on the previous one, but we make a food. We play a Shadow Spear. Okay, interesting card. Also gains the life. You need a lot of life to get to play around the Valakut triggers, but certainly isn't something to be sniffed at.
No. But not only is like, you know, maybe this is why Jay doesn't normally play modern. He's just not used to sort of how fetch lands work.
fetch the wrong way is we'll say.
What's impressive is that he's gotten away with it. So his opponent Kai, he's not new by any stretch. He probably just assumed like half the time. Ooh, Magus of the Moon.
So we see Magus of the Moon. Magus of the Moon Yep, and important card to get to that combo. But right now, Magus of the Moon, if it just stays on the battlefield, will really massively shut down everything that's going on, and he's going to pick your poison away the One Ring. Do you
Hmm.
agree with that?
I think dealing with the One Ring is Did he just use Windswept Heath to?
Yeah, because there's Magus on the moon.
Oh, of course. Sorry,
Yeah,
sorry. I'm just so used to Jay doing it as a
yeah.
mistake.
No, he got it right this time. He got it right.
You got it right this time. Okay, okay. Now, what's interesting here is that. So now we're going to discuss layers.
Oh, I think Jay is currently learning about this with that lead
Yeah.
over the table.
So because these dryads were the last thing to hit the board, his lands are now all land types, which basically has gotten around Magus of the Moon.
But
So
it's important to note, though, it still doesn't make it still makes the unlimited mana a lot trickier. Although right
Mhm.
now they have 7 mana to play with, which is still a
Yeah.
decent amount. They can't
Yeah.
do crazy activation things, and there's an Insidious Roots.
Yeah. So what would basically happen is whenever Titan comes down, they would just end up searching for effectively more 5-color lands.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And yep, put that Seed of Hope in the bin. We're gonna make some more food.
Now it's interesting that we understand that the food generation part is most impressive with cards like Asmo, which we've yet to see. Asmo dealing with the Dryads would basically be a slam dunk for Jay.
Yeah, and even though
Or
Titans,
even the Titan.
even though Titans come down, they don't need to. Jay doesn't need to hurry, right? Jay just needs to play this out. Needs to, find an Asmo. I think like the Asmo right now is ultimately the game winner, but I'm not too sure in Titan if there's anything that really removes Magnus of the Moon. I can't think of any particular removal spells they play. I don't know if you've seen any recently in the local meta, John.
No, not unless maybe they would play the Archdruid's Charm.
Yeah.
That would be quite spicy tech, but I don't think it's a card that typically would get played in Amulet Titan.
And just a note, to make up for the incorrect shocking, we just saw Kai go to attack into this Magus and not realize it was a 3/3, which would have just been
Oh,
like a silly trade. So Jay let him take it back. So they're even on the mistakes, as we do see in Asmo. Asmo great because you get to go and get a cookbook as well.
yeah.
Just chill, right? Like this is a proper like just
Mhm.
chill, just make some food over a few turns, remove the creatures, and
Yeah.
this should be game suit to Jay.
So one thing I will say is that Jay should just wipe the board right now. There is no reason to wait. He must deal with the Titan now at least. And if he can, deal with the Dryads. Like I know they're all just tapping for 1 mana, but Amulet Titan, you gotta remember the other half of that name, Titan. That Primeval Titan could eventually be something worth thinking about.
Do you agree with the switch on the Asmo there?
I do. So the Dryads have 4 toughness, and Asmo now being 4 power means that Kai can't just sort of freely attack in, sort of go for some bit of like a little bit of 2 damage here, 2 damage there, because he is basically just throwing away creatures at that point.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a bad move. I don't think it's a bad move. And Jay, I mean, like you said, Jay has a bit of time.
Oh,
He-
what's he doing? Jay's destroyed his own Magnus to the Moon.
I'm gonna have a lot of words with Jay.
I think I understand why. I think I completely understand why. What they're looking to do, they drew an Insidious Roots a few turns earlier, right? So new to modern, not necessarily understanding the interactions that well. He has Insidious Roots in play, and is probably going to make a lot of plants here, but a lot of plants doesn't help you when you're then going to get domed for about 100.
Okay, so double. I mean, you could make.
You make 4 plants.
They are making 4 tokens. Jay is definitely making 4 tokens. Now, to be fair to Jay, the 6 damage thing is instant speed. So if another Titan does land, Jay can instant speed kill the Titan. He's not actually out of it. And eventually these plant tokens will take over the game, and Jay can actually win this game.
If he realizes that, though, he needs to realize the trigger pointing, right? Because, lots of things and lots of actions are happening within the combo as it goes. So let's just see. And let's just see. We don't even know what Kai has, because obviously there's a Titan in the bin. So we
a lot of lands. And this is what I mean. The Amulet Titan deck has a lot of lands. Not a lot of ways to make good lands. I mean, one thing to consider about Amulet Titan is
he's bounced the search land. So he bounced the search land to be able to then go and get Summoner's Pact, and then you get Summoner's Pact and you get Titan. So something's happening. Kai is definitely cooking. So let's see where he goes here.
Yep. And Titan enters the board now. Jay can react.
Okay.
Oh yeah, so he's discussing what's happening here. So Citadel does pay for 2 of an activation of a land. Castle Carenbrigg, when taps, can tap for 6 green mana.
So he's correctly destroying it now, but the trigger will go off because it did enter the battlefield.
Yes, but Amulet isn't on the board, so they will just come in tapped. However, they're probably both going to be Valakits.
And there's plenty of mana.
Yeah, and because they're all mountains, that's about 12 damage.
Yeah, each.
Not each. It through 6 damage each because they only saw each other.
So we see the win there because of the Dryas on the board. He had the extra Presagio in hand, so the Valakut copies was just going to get him there. So yeah, just on the 2 Valakits it wasn't there. Jay just scoops because he sees the writing on the wall. He's about to get domed for pretty much all of his life. Made a pretty horrendous mistake with the Magus of the Moon. But hey, when you're new to a format like Modern, you learn these things. That's why you need to get out there. You need to get the reps in. It's a format that's not on Arena, so for a lot of people, that is a bit of a learning curve. But definitely a fandom powerful format, John.
If Jay wants to throw away his Megas of the Moons like that, I might as well have him. I'm just saying.
Yeah, just saying. They aren't a cheap card. We all love to see some on our sideboard. Any last thoughts, John?
Take your time. Just, a lot of things might be going on, but you are allowed to take your time to think through your turns.
Yep, absolutely. Take your time, think through your turns, play your game, enjoy Magic in paper. We'll see you on the next one.
Bye.